250 million Americans are not garbage.
When Donald Trump assumed the presidency in January 2017, he brought with him a wave of change that extended far beyond his rhetoric and policies. One of the most significant aspects of his administration was his cabinet appointments. Trump's cabinet was a mix of business leaders, political outsiders, and seasoned politicians, but it was also one of the most controversial in modern American history. From conflicts of interest to ethical concerns, and from lack of experience to outright scandals, Trump's cabinet picks were a constant source of debate and scrutiny. In this video, we'll dive deep into the controversies surrounding Donald Trump's cabinet appointments, exploring the key figures, the scandals that followed them, and the lasting impact of their tenure. The unconventional approach to cabinet appointments. Donald Trump's approach to selecting his cabinet was anything but traditional. Unlike previous presidents who often relied on experienced politicians, policy experts, or long-serving government officials, Trump favored individuals from the business world, many of whom had no prior experience in government or public service. This approach was a direct reflection of his outsider status and his campaign promise to drain the swamp by reducing the influence of career politicians and bureaucrats in Washington. By bringing in successful business leaders, Trump aimed to introduce a results-driven, efficiency-focused mindset to federal agencies, hoping to run the government more like a corporation than a traditional political institution. However, this unconventional strategy was not without its challenges and controversies. Many of Trump's appointees, while accomplished in their respective industries, faced intense scrutiny over their lack of experience in public administration. Critics argued that governing a country requires a different skill set than running a business, and that many of Trump's cabinet members were unprepared for the complexities of federal policymaking. Furthermore, a significant number of his appointees faced ethical questions, conflicts of interest, and allegations of mismanagement. Key controversial appointments. Let's take a closer look at some of the most controversial figures in Trump's cabinet. A. Rex Tillerson, Secretary of State. Rex Tillerson, the former CEO of ExxonMobil, was a surprising choice for Secretary of State. While Tillerson had extensive experience in international business, he had no prior diplomatic experience. His tenure was marked by strained relationships with the White House, particularly with President Trump, who reportedly clashed with Tillerson on key foreign policy issues. Tillerson's time at the State Department was also marked by significant staff cuts and a perceived decline in morale. His eventual firing via Twitter in March 2018 only added to the controversy surrounding his appointment. B. Scott Pruitt, Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. Scott Pruitt's appointment as EPA Administrator was highly controversial from the start. As a known climate change skeptic and a close ally of the fossil fuel industry, Pruitt's appointment was seen as a direct threat to environmental regulations. During his tenure, Pruitt rolled back numerous environmental protections, including the Clean Power Plan and the Waters of the United States rule. However, Pruitt's time at the EPA was overshadowed by a series of ethical scandals, including excessive spending on travel, security, and office renovations, as well as allegations of using his position for personal gain. Pruitt resigned in July 2018 amid mounting pressure and investigations. C. Betsy DeVos, Secretary of Education. Betsy DeVos, a billionaire philanthropist and school choice advocate, was another controversial pick. DeVos had no prior experience in public education, and her confirmation hearing was marked by widespread criticism over her lack of knowledge about basic education policies. As Secretary of Education, DeVos championed school choice and voucher programs, which critics argued would undermine public education. Her tenure was also marked by the rollback of Obama-era regulations on for-profit colleges and campus sexual assault policies, further fueling the controversies surrounding her appointment. D. Jeff Sessions, Attorney General. Jeff Sessions, a former U.S. Senator from Alabama, was one of Trump's earliest supporters and was appointed as Attorney General. However, Sessions' tenure was fraught with controversy, particularly over his decision to recuse himself from the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. This decision infuriated Trump, who publicly criticized Sessions and eventually forced him to resign in November 2018. Sessions' hardline stance on immigration and criminal justice reform also drew significant criticism from civil rights groups. E. Tom Price, Secretary of Health and Human Services. Tom Price, a former congressman and orthopedic surgeon, was appointed as Secretary of Health and Human Services. Price was a vocal critic of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and was expected to play a key role in its repeal. However, his tenure was cut short due to a scandal involving his use of private jets for official travel, which cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. Price resigned in September 2017, less than a year into his tenure. Conflicts of interest and ethical concerns. One of the most persistent criticisms of Trump's cabinet was the widespread perception of conflicts of interest. Many of Trump's appointees had significant financial ties to the industries they were tasked with regulating. For example, Rex Tillerson had extensive ties to the oil industry, raising concerns about his ability to act impartially on issues related to energy and climate change. Scott Pruitt had close ties to the fossil fuel industry, leading to accusations that he was prioritizing industry interests over environmental protection. Betsy DeVos and her family had made significant investments in for-profit education companies, raising questions about her commitment to public education. These conflicts of interest were compounded by a lack of transparency, as many appointees were slow to divest from their financial holdings or provide adequate disclosures. High turnover and instability. Trump's cabinet was also notable for its high turnover rate. By the end of his presidency, Trump had cycled through multiple cabinet secretaries, with some positions seeing multiple replacements. This constant reshuffling created a sense of instability and raised questions about the effectiveness of Trump's administration. The high turnover rate was often attributed to Trump's management style, which was described as impulsive and demanding, as well as the intense scrutiny and controversies that many of his appointees faced. The lasting impact of Trump's cabinet. Despite the controversies and high turnover, Trump's cabinet had a significant impact on U.S. policy. Many of his appointees were successful in rolling back regulations, particularly in areas like environmental protection, education, and healthcare. However, these changes were often polarizing, with critics arguing that they undermined important protections and favored corporate interests over the public good. The controversies surrounding Trump's cabinet also had a lasting impact on public perception of the administration. The constant scandals and ethical questions contributed to a sense of chaos and dysfunction, which became a defining feature of Trump's presidency. Conclusion: Donald Trump's cabinet appointments were a reflection of his unconventional approach to governance. While some of his appointees brought a fresh perspective to Washington, others were mired in controversy from the start. From conflicts of interest to ethical scandals, and from high turnover to policy rollbacks, Trump's cabinet was a constant source of debate and scrutiny. As we look back on the Trump administration, the controversies surrounding his cabinet serve as a reminder of the challenges and complexities of governing in a highly polarized political environment. What do you think about Trump's cabinet appointments? Were they a necessary shakeup of the status quo, or did they contribute to the chaos of his administration? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of political topics. Thanks for watching.